thing that's called, and in the US, it's a graduate assistantship. So most programs, I know there are people who have like scholarships or fellowships, but for me, it's called a graduate assistantship.
Mm-hmm.
So what you get admitted into a program, and then you get funding that you can either be a research assistant where you're just purely focused on doing your research, or you could be someone like a graduate assistant like me. You get funding. In the first case, you get funding purely wewe fanya research, and I think it's like what you had. So you get a stipend that's given to you, and to allow you to live, survive, whatever, pay bills, and all you do is just work towards the output of your research. Or you get something like a graduate assistantship, like what I have is for part of your hours, like 20 hours in a week, you work somewhere in the university, and you can, so for where my project is called the Center for Community Engagement, and you work with them to see how the university can engage the community and students around. So for 20 hours of my week, I'm an employee of the university, and I work with them, sort of like figure out projects we can do, apply for grants, and then the other time of my work, so they then will pay my tuition, make sure I'm not paying any tuition, and get a stipend to be able to now focus on my research and coursework. And then now there are people who get fellowships, and these fellowships come with maybe membership into an association, and they also just pay for your funding. So when you apply to a graduate program in the US, ideally, for me, this is my rule. I don't know about other people, and maybe we can chat about it. I don't think you should be getting into debt to go to graduate school. If you find you're really taking out loans, especially to do a PhD or something like that, then I would tell someone, just look a bit more until you get some funding, because I don't know if it's good to do that. It's not wise. So in our case, the programs will definitely give you one. If you get an offer, you get funding, and it could be one of those opportunities. So that's what I did. That's what I ended up getting in applying to work with this specific advisor, because he has a very good background, and also like what you said, when you're looking for a PhD and you're applying for a position and trying to find a fully funded position, you choose your advisor matters, like what you did. You reached out to someone, so then that advisor becomes someone who will help you even in trying to find funding, so that if you get in there, like, okay, I think you're a really good candidate, so let's find ways in which we can make sure we get full funding for you, and you can focus on doing your research. Because the other approach I see people doing is, if you just apply to any universities, you might get a position, but you won't get any funding that comes from it, And also, you didn't choose an advisor. Only apply to shule, because maybe in Harvard, Harvard ni mbaya, it's okay. But for a PhD, and like you'll say, Gladys, your advisor really makes you or breaks you. So you apply to choose also your advisor. This is someone you'll work with for a very long time, and it needs to be someone who's good in his field, in the field you're getting into, and something that will also work for you, and also for funding, that you'll be able to get a package that's fully funded. So first, apply to a program, reach out to an advisor. Kwanza, advisor that you gel with, like your approach, like whatever you did, I think someone should really try and do that. Reach out to an advisor, see if it's viable for you to do a PhD, then apply to the school, get in. And then if there are some schools that will tell you once you're in, you get full funding. But then there are some state schools, like for me in my case, you get in, then you also need a graduate assistantship to help you now, stipend and your tuition waiver. So you find that that's not something hard to do. You just apply for it also.
Okay.
And then you do, you're able to have a fully funded program.
Interesting, very interesting, and I love it. I really love it, because then the main work for you is to prepare materials for admission. Once you've gotten admission and you've reached out to an advisor and they like you, then you apply for GA. How competitive is it? Like, do you think as soon as you apply there is a chance you can get it, or they are normally competitive?
I think they're normally competitive, and because also, first of all, getting into a PhD program, honestly, for an advisor to agree, like you see your story, for that advisor to agree to take you on as his student, that in itself is a feat. It's not
Yeah.
something. It's just a walk in the park. So getting an admission is a big deal. And then now, secondly, like for different programs, so if you get an admission, the program will tell you we have to decide. We give 5 fully funded students to come in. They give you everything. So then the approach, like for example for us here, the GA position, you can imagine there are many students who are also trying to apply it, and it's not only you. You're competing literally with everyone who's applied. So it is competitive, and sometimes it's based on your work experience, because they're looking at your resume, they're looking at what you're studying, and also looking at how long, because they don't want to fund you to be here for 10 years still doing your PhD, right? So there's a cutoff, and they also are banking on that you're a student who will finish within that time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're competitive. They're competitive in how people get them. Yeah.
Excellent. 2 questions before we move away from that.
Yeah.
Does this apply to PhD students peke yao or even master students?
PhD and masters, especially if you're going to but I know for me, in doing my masters, not doing it here, I know it was hard for me to get a fully funded master's program in the US. It's not very easy in the US. I feel like in Europe and in other places it's easier, but in the US it's a bit challenging. But for state schools, I know if you get a state university, they would have things like that, like graduate assistantships. And once you apply to a master's program, it never hurts. If someone doesn't give you funding, just ask them. Ask the department and be like, do you have any graduate assistantships, graduate teaching assistantships, anything that can help you fund your tuition and give you a stipend for living? And then the school will probably tell you, oh yeah, actually we usually have 2 or 3, so this is where you need to apply. But you have to ask. They won't automatically tell you. So apply for PhD, whatever, and if you don't get funding at first, just ask them if they have any GA positions that you can apply for. Yeah.